Chris Level, RedRaidersports.com joins us now. And Chris, the Red Raiders getting ready for the Independence Bowl in Shreveport on Saturday. And obviously, bowl games back-to-back years is great. It's huge. But this was a year that, was disappointing in the thought that they were going to contend for the Big 12 title. But given, the fact that Jory McGuire never lets anything get him down, what is the vibe around the program, around the Independence Bowl as they get ready for that game?
Yeah, this has been a program that over the last, decade-ish had really struggled and just not been very good for various parts. And so I think 3 bowl games in a row, and Joey was obviously, he had taken over before the Liberty Bowl a couple of years ago, didn't coach that game, but he had the job in Sonny Cumbie coached that one. So I think that, it wasn't the year that they wanted. I think, they weren't picked to win the Big 12. They weren't even ranked in the preseason top 25, and they were a lot of people's dark horse and all those things. But, quarterback injuries and just inconsistency and turnovers and all those things, it didn't end up being the year that they wanted. But, you're right. What Joey's going to point to is hey, we had back-to-back winning conference records for the first time since 2008 or 9, and he's responsible for both of those. And they were fortunate to make it to a bowl game because they had you're at 1-3 and 3-5 at one point in the year, and you won enough to extend your season. So but you don't want to be playing in football games and before Christmas. That's not what anybody what their goals are for. But yeah, you want to make the most of it. And one of these teams on Saturday night is going to be 6-7, and the other was going to be 7-6, and that's not you don't want to end the year with a losing record, obviously. So we'll see what we get. I'm fascinated by this game for a variety of reasons, though. It's 2 really, really good running backs, and obviously Taj Brooks, who's decided he's going to come back next year, and then for Cal, Jaden Ott. I mean, he's about a 1,300-yard rusher, and Tech, I think, is going to end up seeing probably the 2 top running backs in the Pac-12 conference this year individually. They saw Bucky Irving in Oregon earlier this year, and he's already declared for the draft, and then Jaden Ott. And then the other thing I'm fascinated by is the in-helmet communication that they're going to use in these bowl games. So the coordinators can talk to their quarterback or their linebackers and safeties if you're on the defensive side, and I think that's kind of fascinating. It's something that we have never seen before. So interested to see kind of how that goes.
Chris, was the Taj Brooks decision surprising? Did people expect him to go off to the NFL, especially given the life of a running back these days, or was there a hunch that he could be back for another run?
Yeah, pun intended, right? Yeah. For another run, or maybe many.
Right,
a month ago, I thought he's just gone. He's going to go to the try to take his chance at the NFL. What I'm gathering is I think it changed about 2 or 3 weeks ago as the regular season wound down, and I think he got some feedback from the NFL. Look, Taj, for all that he is, what he's not is he doesn't have elite speed. He just doesn't. And I think if he did have it, he's out of there, But I think what he wants to try to do is try to be the all-time leading rusher. And obviously with NIL being what it is, you have the ability to earn some money while you're still in college. And he didn't want to gamble, he didn't want to chance it because I think that the feedback was, mid to late round or undrafted free agent. And that's well, surely he's going to get drafted. Well, you just don't know that. And so, what he is good at, though, is that he's good at breaking tackles. He's good at getting north-south. He doesn't take negative plays. He's elite at picking up the blitz. There's a place for him in the NFL, but I think he wanted to, go with the guarantee of, okay, I'm going to be the starter here. I have the opportunity to better my situation. I could maybe, try to get a little faster and work on that specifically in the next year. And all those things. And so I guess it all equals a good situation for Texas Tech because he's not only a great player, he's just a guy that you want your younger players looking at going, this is how you're supposed to operate, on a daily basis, away from the field, in class, in the locker room, all that kind of stuff. And so I think it's a culture win as much as it is the player that he is, and he's going to have to, I think, 1,200 yards or so next year, and he'll be the all-time leading rusher here, which is quite a statement when you look at all the Doak Walker Award winners they had here with Van Morris and Byron Hanspard and Ricky Williams and all those guys that they had when Spike Dykes was coaching here.
Chris, they have been kind of dominating the portal cycle as far as volume, and I mean all over the map too. I mean, you're talking about Toledo, Memphis, Arizona State, Florida, Fairmont State, Guelph, which is in Canada. I don't even know if I even said it right, but they are Jory McGuire and his team are loading up on guys. Some of them bringing home, like Jalen Conyers, really intriguing. Who is the most intriguing transfer, or what is the most intriguing part of the focus of the portal been for you this first week and a half?
Yeah, this stuff is just I don't know whether it's fascinating or whether it's maddening or whether it's both. I don't know. It's wild to me. I mean, it is. And those of us that are in it and you're trying to learn your team and then you learn it and then it just absolutely totally changes. And you're trying to learn all these new guys and they're not here very long, and it's just wild to me. But yeah, they had some guys hop in the portal, and so Joey's always, since he's gotten here, he's like, I'm going to build this thing through the high school ranks. However, we're going to use this portal, and we're going to use it, and so kind of one out, one in kind of deal from a portal standpoint. So you have a bunch of guys that weren't really playing and want to play more, and so here it's like, okay, well, let's game on, let's try to fill these roster spots up. And I think for me, the offensive line is the primary focus. That's where Texas Tech has got to get better. You build it through the high school ranks. Well, you don't want to turn the offensive line over to a bunch of freshmen and redshirt freshmen. You're trying to stopgap it, and you're trying to bridge the gap, however you want to phrase that, and trying to grow those kids up. But in the meanwhile, you need immediate help. And I think what I've learned and what I'm seeing, and I think we've seen what Matt Rule said about what quarterbacks are worth out there on the open market. And, there's a lot of rumors about what Deion's doing with offensive linemen and all that. But I think linemen are hardest to get in the portal just because there's only so many good ones out there. There's only so many big people out there in the world that are good at specific skills, like blocking and all that kind of stuff. So it's been hard for them to fill that void a bit, but they did get a couple of additions in the last 2 days that are both probably their starting guards next year, one from Toledo and one from Memphis, and Vinny Scurry, and then obviously Davion Carter. And so that was the focus. And then they wanted Jalen Conyers here when Matt Wells was the coach here. They tried to get him. They were the first to offer him. He's from right up the road in Groover, Texas, and ended up going to Oklahoma. And then he ended up going to Arizona State. He's back home. But yeah, he was a big time addition. They're going to lose one of their tight ends in Baylor Cup, and he'll replace Baylor Cup. But yeah, he was highly sought after and all that. But yeah, it's been wild to try to follow this stuff, man. It really is, because it's like you don't know who's on your roster. I mean, there's a few kids that are in the portal for Texas Tech that are going to still play in the bowl game. That's kind of an interesting dynamic as well. But the opt-outs that you're seeing, I mean, it's just this sport in December is just insanity right now. I don't know what they do to fix it, but it's all over the place.
Yeah, I think we all feel the same way. Like, we don't know how to feel, if it's good or it's bad, but we also don't know how to fix it, and good luck to whoever has to make those types of decisions, because where do you start? Yeah. With Micah Hudson going ahead and I guess putting pen to paper. I know it'll be officially announced, next week along with regular signing day. I don't know how much, nervousness there actually was, but just how monumental of a signing is that for Joey and just this program to land a big fish at wide receiver and a top guy like Micah Hudson?
Well, and it's, they're on offense. They've been way too slow here. They lack juice. They lack playmaking. And so not only is it's the perception of recruiting here changes when you get a guy like that. So that's one thing. And then two, like the void that he fills or he adds something that you just don't have. That is also, because I mean, you guys are aware. I mean, he's a freak. I mean, he does things that you can't really coach and teach and all those things. He just kind of has it. And you hope that it translates to the next level. And there's no guarantee that it will, but I think that, he'll be a player that really has an opportunity from day one here. They'll move him all over the place, play him in the slot, play him on the outside, hand it to him on jet sweeps. I mean, he's just a guy that you want to get the ball in his hands and see what he can do. But there's just not many times when the Red Raiders have been able to go head to head against whether it's Texas or A&M for an in-state kid and legitimately just beat them, And he talked to Texas and talked to A&M. And there were some visits and things like that, but in the end, he's really been solidified with Texas Tech for, I would say, 4 to 6 months. And there's and obviously everybody gets nervous when you're dealing with a top player like that. And then the next cycle is now going to begin. It's like, okay, now you get him here. Can you keep him here?
Yeah.
So it never stops. Can you keep him here? Can you keep him happy? But yeah, you love the addition from what he adds from a perception standpoint, being able to recruit here, and then obviously what he can do as a player for sure.
All right, don't get to ask a lot of off-the-field questions necessarily because we're not always privy to that, especially schools that are farther away, but I couldn't help but notice Tony Bradford Jr. is one of the 3 finalists for the Jason Witten Collegiate Man of the Year Award, which has to do with some on the field, but also very much off the field. I've read previously where he's big in community service, but can you just kind of, I guess, paint a bigger picture of Tony Bradford Jr. and his contributions there in Lubbock and at Texas Tech and why he's a guy that's up for an award like this?
Yeah, and I appreciate you asking about that. Tony's a guy, this is the way the student-athlete experience is supposed to work. I mean, he has squeezed everything out of Texas Tech he possibly could have with his time here and Lubbock and everything. And I think Texas Tech has done everything they can do to squeeze everything out of Tony Bradford. It's been a beautiful existence since he showed up here. But you're talking about a kid, Joey calls him the mayor just because everybody knows him. He loves to get out and about, and he's a good player. He leads the team in sacks. He's just been a solid player in his time here. I don't know if he's necessarily an NFL caliber guy. He may give that a crack, but he could also be the next police chief, or he could be the next, whatever. And this is what he has his eyes on in the future. And, whenever Tony doesn't live in Lubbock anymore, Lubbock won't be as good of a place without Tony Bradford in it. That's the best thing I can say about him. But Thanksgiving, he's giving away, he's spending his own NIL money to give away turkeys to needy families. That pretty much sums up who Tony Bradford is. I'm doing an interview with him. He's telling me about it, and he's like, "I saved up enough of my money to be able to do this. It's been a dream." And I'm just sitting there, and I'm almost like choking up. Like, dude, you're what it's all about, man. And I wish there was more people like it, not only at Texas Tech, but everywhere, because the world would be a lot better with more Tony Bradford in it, for sure.
Chris, thanks so much for joining us. Are you in Shreveport? Are you going to Shreveport?
Well, it's this interesting dynamic. I'm actually going to be in Fort Worth because Tech basketball and Grant McCaslin are playing Vanderbilt at 6:30 in Fort Worth on Saturday night. And the football team's kicking off at 8:15 in Shreveport. And so I'm like, call my Learfield guy. I'm like, okay, where are you sending me? And they're sending me to hoops. So I was going to let somebody down, and I feel like I need to be in both places, but that's not the way it works.
All right, Chris Level, RedRaidersports.com. Chris, thanks a lot.
Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate it. You guys have a good rest of the week.
All right, there we go.
Yeah.